Hello, good afternoon, colleagues. Welcome to the press conference after a very long FAC. You will be now informed about the topics and about the discussions by High Representative Josep Borrell, and then we will take a few questions. High Representative, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Peter. Well, good afternoon. Before I start, let me make a short point on the sad news that reached us during the Council, the attack on the World Food Programme convoy in Goma, in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I extend once again my heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims, one of which has been the Italian ambassador. We express our sympathy with Ministers Di Maio and Italy. This is yet again a covert attack in a region that requires real attention and where civilians continue to pay a heavy price for deeply rooted insecurity. This has been, going back to our Council meeting, this has been a very dense Council. One of the most dense Council we had, and very interesting. We have been talking about Russia, Iran, and Hong Kong. This has been the key topics. And in addition, we had a first meeting through video conference with Secretary of State Blinken. Other issues were on the agenda, but we couldn't cover all of them. For example, the Strategic Compass debate has been postponed for the next Foreign Council. On Russia, there is a shared assessment in the Council that Russia is drifting towards an authoritarian state and driving away from Europe. The ministers unanimously interpreted to Russia's recent actions and responses as a clear signal of not being interested in cooperation with the European Union. By the contrary, it looks interested in confrontation and disengagement from the European Union. With ministers, I am happy to say we confirm our unity as our greatest asset. And we have decided, had considered along our discussion, that we need to work along three main lines when it comes to Russia, within the framework of the five guiding principles that can be resumed in three verbs. To push back when Russia infringes international law and human rights. To contain when it seeks to increase its pressure on us, including through disinformation and cyber attacks. And third, to engage. To engage when and on issues where we have an interest in doing so. To push back, to contain, and engage. In response to events around the situation of Mr. Navalny, we reached a political agreement to impose restrictive measures against those responsible for his arrest and sentencing and persecution. And for doing that, for the first time ever, we will make use of the European Union global human rights regime to this end. And these sanctions will be put on the pipeline of our administrative process today under a proposal of the High Representative. And I hope they will be decided soon. Maybe it will take 1 week, but I hope not more than that, and will be approved by written procedure by the Council. As I said, in agreement with Member States, I will now submit concrete proposals and they will be transmitted to the administrative procedure, which is quite cumbersome, today, and I hope it will not going to be more than 1 week. We also agreed to do more support to all those engaged in the country, in Russia, in defending the political and civil freedoms. And at the same time, we must define a modus vivendi to avoid a permanent confrontation with a neighbor who, unfortunately, seems to have decided to act as an adversary, unfortunately. But this looks the reality. We also discussed the situation with Iran and the worrying recent developments in the nuclear field. We need to bring back full implementation of the JCPOA, both as regards nuclear commitments and when it comes to sanctions lifting. This is the only way forward. And it is in the interest of global and regional security. I can tell you that intense diplomatic contacts are ongoing those days, including with the US. As JCPOA coordinator, it is my job to help to create the space for diplomacy and to find solutions. And the work on this is ongoing. I informed the ministers, and I hope that the next days it will be news. We also discussed the situation in Myanmar. As you know, the democratic transition was reversed by the military coup on the 1st of February, which deposed the still legitimate leader of the country, the State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi. These latest developments are extremely worrying. People are being killed on the demonstrations. We strongly condemn this military coup and unacceptable violence against peaceful demonstrators. Today we have decided a set of targeted measures with ministers in response to these events. When we took the political agreement to apply sanctions targeting the military responsible for the coup and the economic interest. All direct financial support from our development assistance to the government's reform programs is withheld. But at the same time, the measures taken should not impact the population. We will continue to support civil society and provide basic services to the people of Myanmar. On Hong Kong, the situation keeps deteriorating, and we agreed on a two-step process with a set of short and longer-term actions, in addition to the initial response package that was adopted last July. On the first step, immediate measures includes increased support to the civil society, stepping up coordination with like-minded partners, and outreach to relevant authorities. We also agreed on the steps to be taken in case of further deterioration of the situation, such as aggressive reform of the electoral process in Hong Kong or further erosion of the independence of the judiciary. The Council also addressed the impact of the deteriorating situation in Hong Kong on our broader relation with China, and the discussion will continue on this point. And then came the important video conference with the United States Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, who was for sure a major highlight of today's Council. This was the first level interaction between the EU and the new US administration. And I am glad to say that we have had a very positive discussion that shows that the focus now is not only on deepening our partnership, but also to join global leadership in fighting the pandemic, dealing with the recovery, mitigating climate change, and ensuring the promotion of democratic values. Democracy is being challenged today in the world. There is a battle of narrative about which system delivers better for the population, for the people, and we have to demonstrate that democracy delivers better than any other system. We discuss international opportunities and challenges, including relations with China and Russia, which are the two poles with respect we have to face the most important challenges. And believe me, the conversation with the Secretary of State has been very positive and heart-touching. It was a human touch that goes further than just the political consideration. We appreciate that each other consider the other as the best partner. And the last words of the Secretary of State were really very encouraging for us. We are looking forward to re-engage with the US, in particular addressing current tensions and conflicts in our immediate and wider neighborhood. We acknowledge the need to work together on Iran at this critical juncture. As I said, I hope that in the next days or weeks we could prove that working together delivers results in this field. We touch also upon strengthening our partnership in Ukraine, countries on the Eastern Partnership and the Western Balkans, Middle East, Africa and Latin America. There is also a joint understanding that we should work more together. Finally, we discuss our security and defense cooperation and how a stronger Europe can participate globally with the US in order to provide security. Let me stress and focus about Ethiopia. The Finnish Minister Haavisto went to the region as my representative, representing the High Representative, went to the region on my behalf and debriefed us today about his mission. Almost 4 months into the conflict, 80% of the Tigray population of 6 million people remain unreachable. It's a completely blackout. Today, 4 months after the start of the war, because we can call it a war, 80% of the people are still unreachable. And there are areas where fighting is still ongoing, and there is not humanitarian access. So, on behalf of the Council, I want to do this oral conclusion of our discussion today, that urgent need remains to full and immediate humanitarian access to Tigray, the need to investigate the allegation of severe human rights violations, of ethnic violence and discrimination, and ask for respect of international humanitarian law. The Service of the External Action Service will produce a project of conclusions who will be approved by written procedure. But I think that I am representing the debate today in the Council if I insist on that. The fight has to stop. Full humanitarian access has to be provided. Investigation about the allegations of human rights violations, end of ethnic violence and discrimination, and respect of international humanitarian law. Finally, on Belarus, the repression and increased harassment of the people and civil society by the authorities continue. We'll consider the adoption of further sanctions, and in the meantime, we will support the Belarusian people in its legitimate request for democracy by supporting the civil society and by punishing, sanctioning those who deny them the fundamental political rights. As you can see, it has been a dense and very much interesting council.
Thank you very much, High